Thanks for joining me on Life in Surround. Today we're going to be talking Marillion in Surround. You can see that I have in front of me all 8 of the EMI Years Deluxe reissues from the band, all the way from Script for a Jester's Tear up to Afraid of Sunlight. Now, we're going to be having this discussion because of one particular release, this 8th and final one in the series. This is Season's End. We can see here with reimagined cover art. Now, we're going to be talking about a few things. A, my overall impression of the deluxe version of Season's End, and then B, my overall ranking of all 8 of these reissues. And then C, we're going to be taking a look at kind of the present and the possible future of Marillion in Surround. So I want to begin by saying thank you to my dear friend Steve. A lot of you know Steve. He not only has loaned me this copy of Season's End because, like I said, the deluxe hasn't even released yet, but has also talked to me considerably over the last couple of weeks, several days, as I've digested the set. He knows way more about Marillion than I do, so it's just been, an opportunity for fun conversation and to really gain his knowledge, because I really do like learning about bands through my fascination primarily with surround music. All right, so Season's End, the deluxe set. Should you buy this? Here's my overall verdict. If you are a completist and want all 8 of the sets, then you should. If you are a diehard Marillion fan and want a modest upgrade in the sound of the album vis-a-vis the new remix, then you should. And if the overall value of everything that's included in the deluxe set really meets your price point, then you should. I'm just going to say that for like the casual fan who would be, for instance, hoping for an awesome surround experience, this isn't going to do it for you. And this deluxe set has kind of some peculiar characteristics that I really feel make it for completists and diehards. All right, so let's take a look at the contents of the set. I think that this is, on the positive, per usual for these deluxe sets, you do get a lot of content. You have a CD that's home to the new remix of the album. The remix is a modest improvement in sound quality to my ears, with the biggest benefit going to Ian Mosley's drum sound, which is very important to me. The better drum sound on an album, typically the better I'm going to like it. And I can make out more articulation in his playing, and that does raise interest for me overall with this kind of music. CD2 is devoted to a 2022 concert that Marillion put on, at which they played the entire album of Season's End. For me, this disc is pretty much a swing and a miss. While the band puts in, to my ears, mostly a good performance, I really don't think that H's voice is up to a lot of the material. It may have been just too early, too young in his career, and perhaps he could have benefited from some down tuning. But really, those songs don't work for me. When you get to the next disc, CD3, you get what I think was probably the encore for the night. You get Gaza and the Levers. And those tracks sound much, much better, much stronger to my ears. Like maybe H was just more comfortable with that material. So just trying to call it like I see it. If you were interested in this set only for that 2022 audio concert, I would pass. So now we get to the Blu-ray, which is kind of a strange one. For one thing, you have a lot of exclusive material. For instance, the B-sides, the rarities, the demos, really, I feel could have been on CD, especially since they're in 44.1 16-bit quality, which is CD quality. So they are just kind of an odd fit for a Blu-ray, where a lot of fans might not even have a Blu-ray player or might consider it cumbersome to have to fire it up instead of, say, the CD deck in their car. Anyway, just an odd choice. And then also on the Blu-ray, we have a bootleg from France, which is of bootleg quality. So again, really not going to be showcased well by the technology of Blu-ray. You do get two documentaries, one shot back in the day and then one updated now. If you're going to watch both, I recommend watching the older one first because the latter one borrows a lot of material and the older one might feel redundant and close to pointless if you watch the new one first. All right. Now the Rocksteady concert on the Blu-ray, I think, does benefit from, the maximum possible sound and visual quality. It is a cool show. It is a great snapshot in time of the band. And there are 3 promo films from the era. I think they're mostly goofy, but it is fun and it is cool to have them included. Now we get to Michael Hunter's 5.1 mix of the album. In recent releases, I really felt like he was getting stronger at his surround mixing game. I actually rather liked his last couple of efforts. I feel like this is a bit of a regression. It's just not much of a surround mix. When I brought my surrounds up 3 and then 6 dB, it did make improvements just in the noticeability of surround activity, that sense of being immersed. And then when there are occasional surround flourishes, they do feel better balanced. So I'm really wondering if during the mixdown process or maybe the mastering process, if the surrounds were lowered, because the mix just makes more sense with them boosted like 3 to 6 dB. So you might want to try that. Even at its best, though, this is a pretty tame 5.1 mix. Causes me to wonder, like, when he mixed this, like maybe it was quite some time ago and it was according to an older, tamer philosophy, and then the label just didn't want to commission an updated mix or something of that sort. All right, and so then you get an essay and photos included in the book. So I really do think there's plenty here for the strong enough fan of this album or of this era of Marillion. The flip side, again, is I really don't think this one is going to be for those who just don't need to complete this series. And with that said, maybe it's time to give these deluxe series a bit of a ranking. Now, as I have said, and as many of you know, I just absolutely adore music in surround. And so that is going to play very heavily into my choices. All right, so starting at the bottom, I would put Script for a Jester's Tear at number 8. That's based totally on the surround mix experience. You have an amazing improvement to sound quality for the album, particularly listening to the 5.1 mix because of the channel separation that is utilized. However, it's just really mainly a non-existent surround experience with a few flourishes here or there that are so occasional that they actually are distracting. So the album is not a very immersive experience, and it's an uneven surround experience. Now, the massive upgrade to sound quality, plus a lot of the extras included in that set, make it well worth picking up, in my opinion, just not from a surround enthusiast perspective. All right, and so then next we have Afraid of Sunlight. Here we have another Michael Hunter entry into the series. This has just a so-so surround mix and so-so sound quality. And I do happen to think it is among their stronger albums. So I do think it's worth picking up. Again, all of the extras and everything could carry the day for you. Just don't expect an excellent surround experience. It's just okay. All right, next we have Clutching at Straws. This is, in my opinion, a fairly strong Phish era album, but it has a so-so surround mix and so-so sound quality. I remember the highs on this one being hyped significantly to the point where it's not really crankable, and that is a big deal for me with rock music. I want to be able to crank it. I want to be able to get it bumping. I want to be able to get it slamming. And when highs are hyped, it is really impossible for me to do that and hang out with the music for any appreciable amount of time. All right, Season's End. Here we have the current release and Michael Hunter's second entry into this series. And again, I have to say that the surround is just a so-so experience. It is competent. There's nothing really wrong with it to my ears. And this does have really good sound quality, again, especially with Ian Mosley's drumming. The stereo remix is an improvement already, and the 5.1 even more so. You're just not going to get that great or that interesting of a surround experience. You may actually get a better surround experience by upmixing the stereo with certain appliances like RO, 3D, the Surround Master, who knows? Holidays in Eden. Okay, chronologically, it was the album that came after Season's End. In terms of this series, it was released just previously, and it was remixed by Stephen W. Taylor, who is one of the absolute surround mixing masters of our day and age. I would say, along with Script for a Jester's Tear, it benefits the most in terms of sound quality for its remix. So, for that reason alone, I would recommend it if you like this album at all. And again, all the extra features and such, I really do feel like that package delivered proper value. All right, we're closing in on the top. Who will win? My next entry, and I believe third place, is going to be Fugazi. This has what I consider to be one of Andy Bradfield and Avril McIntosh's strongest surround mix entries to date, any release that I've heard so far. It is a very cool mix with improvement in sound quality for the album. I just consider it to be my least favorite f.e.a.r. era album for Marillion. Now, whoa, before you get super upset, I still like the album. It's just my least favorite from the era. So it really would be hard for me to place it in the top spot because whether I like music or not is actually like the biggest deal to me. And so we move on to an album that has just a very, very intriguing storyline. I like it musically, and with the incredible 5.1 mix rendered by Steven Wilson, yet another mixing engineer in this series. This 5.1 Steven Wilson mix of Brave is just amazing. It really is a reference level disc for those who want to understand what 5.1 is all about. And I think it is a considerably strong album from this era. So it takes second place pretty easily, leaving only one. And so therefore, you know that for me, it is Misplaced Childhood. This is just simply an incredible record. It just drew me in fully, hook, line, and sinker from the first listen. I just love this record. And so musically, it's going to take my top spot, and it's going to be hard to dethrone it unless there are significant issues with mix or sound quality, right? So this is another Steven Wilson mix. And while it is less aggressively mixed, less discreetly mixed than his usual fare, he claimed situations with the master tapes that caused for him to make the decisions that he did. He still achieves a remarkable sense of immersion throughout the entire album with very, very, very cool surroundy showcase moments, like a big, huge drum fill during Blind Curve and others. I recall reviewing this one, and I think that review was rather extensive, so you may want to check that out. All right, so we have these 8 deluxe editions ranked from a surround enthusiast point of view. I probably would give a slightly different ranking if I were just strictly speaking, looking at like all of the included contents and the overall value. And I respect if any of you out there have a different ranking. You may want to post it below if you'd like to engage in conversation over that. Okay, and then finally, let's talk about the present and the possible future of Marillion and Surround. The list that you're seeing now was made and is curated by, again, my friend Steve. So thank you to him for doing that. And we can see from this list that the 8 EMI era albums have been covered by these deluxe reissue, these book sets. Okay. And then through various sorts of releases, we've gotten some other Marillion albums in surround as well. The last album, An Hour Before It's Dark, was released in a deluxe set in surround and then also as a standalone Blu-ray. And then we see that Sounds That Can't Be Made was bonus content for certain editions of Sunday Night Above the Rain, a 3-disc Blu-ray set, if I recall, 3 or 4 discs. I happen to have that one. Radiation in 5.1 was bonus material for a set called Breaking Records, and I've never been able to find a legitimate copy of that set. I really wish that Racket Records would reissue it. You can get bootlegs online, but try to find the real thing, and I haven't ever seen one for anything other than ridiculous prices. F.e.a.r. was released in sort of a mega deluxe boxes, a DVD in the less expensive box, and then a Blu-ray. in the most expensive box. And that mix was also put out on SACD with some slightly different mastering that some fans don't like. But I find the 5.1 SACD of f.e.a.r to be sufficient to my tastes. With Friends from the Orchestra was a bonus on the recent Blu-ray Live at St. David's. And that's an example of a Michael Hunter mix that I prefer to this 5.1 mix of Season's End. I think that covers it. There have been some miscellaneous tracks released, a few tracks here, but no more entire albums. So that leaves This Strange Engine, Marillion.com, Anarachnophobia, Marbles, Somewhere Else, Happiness is the Road, Less is More, as all needing a complete surround mix issue. I hope that we will get them. I hope that outstanding remix engineers are engaged to do the mixes. These albums really do deserve the best in terms of surround quality. And there are competent engineers who I'm sure would be happy to lend a hand. So there really isn't any excuse for a surround mix that really misses the mark or is just okay. This is Marillion, you know, these surround mixes should be outstanding. All right, so I appreciate you watching. Again, this has been a discussion of the new deluxe book set of Season's End. I'm going to go ahead and make the recommendation that if you absolutely want to complete your set of 8 book sets, then go for it. If you absolutely love this album and want to hear it in better quality, or you just love this era of the band, or you have that sort of close connection to the music, a reason to really celebrate this album, then go for it. If you're a casual fan who's sort of on the fence about the album musically, and you would just be in for a really outstanding surround experience, you're gonna wanna pass on this one. All right, so I appreciate you watching. If you appreciate what I do, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, leave comments below, share videos. All of that helps support this channel. And then this channel is able to support music, especially music in surround, but just any great music. And I think that can be enriching to this life. And so I just appreciate all of you, and I appreciate being able to share this experience with you. And until next time, live life in surround.